Okay, so my main precedent is the work of Colin Rowe, who is a British-born American naturalized architecture historian, critic, and theoretician, and a teacher, and is acknowledged as a major intellectual influence on the world of architecture and urbanism in the second half of the 20th century and beyond, particularly in the fields of city planning, regeneration, and urban design. So, Colin's approach of assessing modern architecture was to place it within history and to acknowledge history as its active influence. And Colin's influence is spread throughout the world in terms of city planning, and has notable influences on other works from James Stirling to Aldo Rossi, Robert Venturi, etc. And he has many. The specific text I grew an affinity towards was the Collage City, written in 1978. So in the Collage City, it was a work in which it was a critical analysis on the origins and the ideologies and the shortcomings of the modernist city planning. The modernist movement proposals had striven to start afresh and build the new utopian city. However, Rowe argued that this retarded conception of science, this is a quote, retarded, and a reluctant recognition of poetics led to the failure of these urban design proposals. And he was mainly to Le Corbusier's Villa de Industrie and other ones where modernist city planning would just wipe the slate clean and propose these really rigid structures without acknowledging the urban fabric of the past. So in a postmodern reaction to this total design approach, the authors, Colin proposed an urban design should be considered through fragmentation, a bricolage, and a metamorphosis of interpretation to produce a functioning network of pocket utopias. So that the authors ask, why should we be obliged to prefer a nostalgia for the future? So in reaction to the modernist emphasis on technology and moving forward and technological innovations. But this kind of blinded them toward this obsession with technological advancements, blinded them to the previous urban fabric, and could not the ideal city behave quite explicitly as both a theatre of prophecy and a theatre of memory? One of his ideas was of the city was the idea of speculative pleasure of the city walker. So the city walker would create his own narrative to spaces that are inaccessible for him, and allows him for a more connected experience as he goes throughout the city, allowing a free rein to meander across every open space in the city. The collage city would offer the poetics of the utopia, but the juxtaposition of layering smaller designs into a whole, rather than a totalitarian fresh slate approach, would allow for the city to be free of an unchangeable finality of utopian politic. A postmodern composition, and this approach to city planning, it wouldn't be prescriptive. It would be rather an emphasizing remembrances and the shifting contexts of the city, and this allows the city to create itself, to read itself, and to form its own meanings from borrowed fragments. One of the interesting connections would be towards the analysis of Giambattista's Noli map of 18th century Rome, in which one of the analysis would be by analyzing this map, it served as a direct opposition to the way modern cities are thought of. Instead of the city being just a canvas where new buildings are placed upon, it is the space in between is more emphasized and regarded as a positive spaces between the cities. And in the Noli map, only the public buildings are shown: churches, the courtyards of various palaces, the Pantheon, and a few others. And this allows for a political perception of the the city, a great deal of what we call interior space was open to the citizens of the 18th century Rome, proportionately far more than it's often case in the current society. So it's Nolli's Rome was a shared place, a city of shared organism to which every citizen felt he or she belonged. So trying to tie this idea of the collage city back to my manifesto. In essence, if the aim was to create an agnostic, if the aim of my manifesto was to create a city the aim of the city was to disempower large cultural hegemonic practices such as the imposition of, like Yusu's idea of the economic, because how idea of consumerism has completely dominated every aspect of our life, and such as the mall, and so its approach to city planning rejects a total design approach, and instead the city will be developed by elements, and the aim of the city will not necessarily be a product of design, but a management of accommodating different desires and aims of the city's inhabitants. Truly pluralistic, inclusive public spaces could be made manifest, and where an emphasis is placed on the autonomy of the citizen. Another observation. Actually, the aim through the collage city is to create a city that celebrates multitudes, to emphasize articulation and the positive merits of argument and debate. Such a pluralistic model could explore different configurations of power and promote a greater